Hey guys, I'm Crystal Emote, and today I'm going to show you how to style wavy long hair. Alright, so I just got out of the shower, and typically I'll leave my hair in the towel for not longer than like 10 minutes. Because towels will, well, at least in the case of my hair, which is wavy, it'll tend to make it kind of frizzy and big, and not the good kind of big, just like the big. So as you can see, it's kind of just wet and dangly here, and starting to do its waves. It's got a little bit of curl in there. So the first thing I do is I use my heat protectant spray. I like BTZ, Beyond the Zone, Turn Up the Heat for flat irons. I got that from Sally Beauty Supply. I think it was about maybe $10 to $15. It wasn't too expensive. So the next step is I'm going to spray my hair. I tend to just spray the ends and not so much on top of my head, because a lot of times heat protectant can look a little greasy, and I just don't want the top of my head to look greasy. So I like to run that through. Also, I think the top of your head, it makes its own kind of grease, so you know, you don't need to apply a whole lot extra, but the ends need a lot of attention. So the next step is I'm going to get my brushes. I have just a regular brush, and I have a small barrel brush. I always put my hairdryer on the highest heat, and then I just start to brush it out and dry it. Now this is where you're going to want to get your barrel brush. Once you kind of brush it into the style that you're thinking, which this is a style that I'm thinking, I want to have it parted on my side here. I always part it on that side. You're going to want to even out your part. Now you're going to want to take your barrel brush, and I start off first by just kind of brushing it, and I like to curve it inwards toward my face. I do this first before I put on the heat with it. That way I can kind of get all the tangles out ahead of time. Alright, and then you're going to want to put on your heat with it. I just want to point out that I also find that when you have wavy hair, that your hands can actually be a great tool for styling your hair, because you know, you can kind of move it around, and I like to finger comb through my hair a lot, and that also helps sometimes, because a lot of times the brushing with the hairdryer, it's hard to get the brush to do exactly the angle that you're thinking of. So now I'm ready to move on to the flat iron. Once your flat iron is heated, I always start with my bangs first, just because those tend to be kind of stubborn. So you're going to want to grab your bangs, take your flat iron, and just go over it and then curve right at the end. So remember, you're going to go pull it away from your face, but then curve it. And your fingers can be a great guide for this. A lot of people may say, you know, to separate out in sections and then straighten, but I like to just kind of leave it down flat and straighten it as I go, because then I can see which hairs are the problem hairs. I'm taking little pieces. You don't want to do very large pieces when you're straightening your hair, because the smaller the piece, the easier and the better it is to get the kind of straight that you want. Curving. Now this takes a lot of time, and it does take patience, and sometimes I know you could be in a rush and you don't really feel like having to take all of this patience and time, but that's one thing that's good about wavy hair, is that Sometimes you don't have to worry so much about getting it all pin straight. Sometimes if you just give it this curve, the natural wave will take over. It'll kind of sculpt itself any pieces that you may miss if you're doing it this way, like how I am. Make sure that you're pulling the pieces away from you and then you curve at the very end. So you're pulling and then curve. I tend to like to make sure I get the back pulled out a lot, just because back here you can tend to get like a little groove in here where your hair lies flat up against your neck. And make sure that you're curving it outward away from the back of your neck. Now a lot of times you might have certain pieces of your hair that's stubborn, like mine in the front here. And that's when you're going to want to just kind of hold your curling iron on there for a few seconds and just kind of let it, you know, heat up there and then pull it down. And at least that's how I get kind of some of the more stubborn guys in the front to stay down. What I'm doing now is just like a cleanup over the top of my head. Any parts that I see that are just not falling the way that I want them to fall, I'm just going over it. Even if I'm grabbing big chunks, I'm just kind of shaping and sculpting it the way that I want it to look. Okay, so then I just kind of fluff out my hair with my fingers. And then I like to apply my argan oil. I use argan oil of Morocco. Once again, I apply it just to the ends. If I have just a little bit left over, I'll barely swipe it over the top, but I just don't want to have a greasy top of my head. So then you're going to want to get your brush again and just kind of brush and tease out the top of it. Give it a nice brush through. Finger style my bangs there in the front. And there you have it, styled wavy hair. Now at this point, if you want to use like hairspray or something to maybe hold it more in place, you can do that. I tend to have really sensitive skin, so I don't use a lot of products after this. I'll just kind of leave it, let it wave, and hope for the best. But yeah, thank you for watching. And if you like this video, subscribe because I will be posting more. Thanks, bye.